Okay, chapter 4.4. We're doing factoring quadratic expressions. Now, I know you guys have all heard of this before. You did this back in Algebra 1. It was not fun for most of you. You struggled with this concept because a lot of times you guys do not remember your multiplication tables. Would you agree with me? Because of that struggling with your multiplication tables, factoring is a little bit more difficult for most students. So I would like to take today's step by step and stay with me, all right? So factoring is rewriting an expression as a product of factors. What are my factors of 8? 2 and 4 or 1 and 8. Those are factors. Do we understand that? So that's what I need your brain to think about whenever we're saying the word factors today. A monomial is a number or a variable or the product of a number and variables. For example, 3 by itself is a monomial. X by itself is a monomial. But 3 times x is a monomial. They're all different and unique. Do you all understand that? A binomial is 2 monomials attached by addition or subtraction. So I'm going to take the 3, I'm going to add it to the x, and that's going to be a binomial expression. I'm going to take the x and subtract off 4xy. They're 2 different unique monomials, and that's why I can attach them by subtraction. Today, we're going to be using a lot of binomials. Yes? How many people in here remember FOIL? First, outer, inner, last. How many of us have some nightmares with FOIL? Okay, I want you to ignore those nightmares and act like they are not there because we're going to have nothing but rainbows and butterflies and sunshine, okay? Unicorns flying around. Now, the first term, if I give you the 2 binomials, x plus 2 and 3x plus 4, if I take and multiply the first term in each parenthesis together, what does that give me? 3x squared. Then if I multiply the outer terms in each parenthesis, that's x and 4, what does that give me? A 4x. Then if I multiply the 2 inner terms of the 2 parentheses as a whole, that's going to be 2 times 3x, which is 6x. And then if I multiply the last 2 terms in each parenthesis together, that is going to give me an 8. This is what we call FOIL. Now, I would like you to notice that I have a plus 4x and a plus 6x. We call those 2 terms like terms because they have exactly the same variable with exactly the same exponent. And what we're going to do, because they have the same sign in front of it, plus 4 and plus 6, we are going to add them together. And if we add them together, what does that give me? 3x squared plus 10x plus 8. This is our solution when we FOIL. Why am I teaching FOILing? Well, because when you teach factoring, it is the opposite of FOILing. Meaning, I am going to give you the green box we just found, and you are going to come up with the 2 binomials that we FOILed together. So we're going backwards today. So how do we go about that? Here we go. I give you x squared plus 9x plus 20. The very first thing I want you to do is I want you to look for your GCF. A GCF is your greatest common factor. So if you look at these 3 terms, 1x squared, 9x, and 20, each of those monomials, I want to know if they have any factor in common. 1 is the only number that they share in common. Would you agree? Does 1 change anything if you factor out a 1? No. So what we're going to do is go straight to 2 binomials. And the very first thing our brain is going to do is, how did we get an x squared when we FOILed in our previous example? We broke down x squared and brought it to be x times x. Would you agree? Yes? Okay. The next thing that our brain needs to think about is, what is the last sign? I need to get a positive 20. How do I get a positive outcome whenever I multiply 2 numbers together? They both must be positive or they both must be negative. Those are your 2 ways that you can achieve a positive outcome, correct? Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our middle term. Our middle term sign is going to be positive. indicates which of these two options we are going to utilize, which means I'm going to be using plus plus as my two signs inside my binomial expressions. Then I'm going to say, well, since my signs are plus plus, in the previous example, when the signs were the same, what did we do to the two numbers? We added them together to get that 10 previously in that previous example, right? We added these two together right here to obtain the 10x, yes? Okay, we're going to do the same concept here because both of my signs are what? The same. You with me? What am I going to add together? Well, you're going to add together the factors of 20. So what are all the factors of 20? 1 and 20, 2 and 10, doesn't go into 3, 4 and 5. Because the 4 and the 5 are touching, I know that I'm done and I found all the factors. Now, this is what I want to show you. Many of you guys struggle with that right there. So I'm going to show you what we call calculatorsoup.com. And it is a factor finder. If you type right here for all of the factors that you want, put a 20 right there and hit enter, it will pop out your factors. Okay? It'll give you 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Do we see that, yes or no? Will I allow you to use this on the test? Yes, but your laptop will be restricted to this website only. Questions over that? Okay, so what did we say we were going to do with the factors of these numbers? We were going to add them. So this gives me a 21, a 12, and a 9. You are then going to look in the very middle term. And what is the middle term that I need? I need a 9x. So which of those factors will add to give me a 9? So I'm going to put a 4 there and a 5 there, and I am done. How many of you remember this? Excellent. Let's do it again. X squared plus 14x minus 72. Step 1, look for a GCF. Do you see one? I have no GCF. So I'm going to go ahead and go straight to two binomials. First thing I want to do is break down that x squared. How do I break down that x squared? X and x. Second thing I want to do is I need to obtain a negative 72. How do I get a negative number when multiplying two together? I have to have opposite signs. Do we understand that? So I'm going to put a plus here and a minus there. Now, in the previous examples, my signs were the same, and I added. In this example, my signs are opposite, so what do you think I should do? The opposite of same is opposite, right? Different. So if the signs are different, I'm going to do the opposite of addition, which would be, very good. So I'm going to subtract my factors. Do we all understand that? Now, here's the kicker. You're never going to look at the sign. That sign right there says that the larger factor gets the middle sign. In this problem, what is my middle sign? Plus. So that means my larger factor of my factors of 72 are what is going to go in my first position. So if I go back over to my calculator for my factors, and I type in here 72, it's going to pop out all of our factors. Pretty sweet, right? So no one should screw up their factoring. So my factors are going to be 1 and 72, 2 and 36, 3 and 24, 4 and 18, 5 no, 6 and 12, 7 no, 8 and 9. So those are all the factors of 72 that we just came up with from Calculator Soup as well as from our brain, yes? Now, it says that we are to subtract our factors. So if I subtract this, I'm going to get 71, 34, 21, 14, 6, and 1. What I want to obtain? What number do I want to obtain? 14. So that means I'm using 4 and 18. What goes where? The larger factor goes with the middle sign. The middle sign is plus. 18 is larger, so 18 goes there and 4 goes there. Do we see that, yes or no? How do I check to know that I'm correct? I simply do inner, which gives me an 18x, and outer, which gives me a negative 4x. And when I combine them, it better give me my middle term of 14x, which I know I am correct. Does that make sense? Okay, the next slide is basically what I talked about verbally to you just now, written to you. Okay? So if I give you ax squared plus bx plus c, when c is positive, this is the second step we're talking about. When c is positive, that means you have to have plus plus or minus minus, which means you are going to add. Super important. Same signs, add. Same signs, add. When c is negative, that means your signs are going to be opposite. If your signs are different, you will subtract. Do we understand that? And that's everything I just put on the previous example. Okay, let's go ahead and do the next example here. How is this problem different than the previous problem that we were doing? The a value, which is attached to the x squared, is a negative 1. Guess what, folks? If I don't make you pull out that negative 1, the procedure that I have taught you will be different. I don't want my procedure to be different. I want to do things as much the same as I possibly can. So I need to turn that negative 1x squared into a positive 1x squared. How do I do that? What we're going to do is pull out a negative 1. Whenever I say factor out a negative 1, what that means is you are dividing each term mentally in your head by the value negative 1. So what is negative x squared divided by negative 1? It is x squared. What is 13x divided by negative 1? Negative 13x. What is negative 12 divided by negative 1? Now, here's the kicker. If I were to distribute the negative 1 back into the red, I will obtain the original problem. Would you all agree? However, I'm not going to do that, and I no longer need the original problem. Do we all understand that? So we are going to do the same procedure that we learned on the last 2 or 3 examples with this example here. But you are going to carry down that negative 1 each time. So first things first, what do I do? Break down the x squared. How do I break down the x squared? X and x. Step 2, what do I do? I need to look at the blast sign, which is a positive. So my signs must be plus plus or minus minus. How do I determine which one to utilize? I look at the first sign, which is going to be a negative. So therefore, I'm going to be having minus minus. If my signs are the same, what operation am I doing? Addition. So now I'm going to find all of the factors of 12, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, correct? And I'm going to add those down, 13, 8, and 7. And I want to achieve what number? 13. And which of those gives me 13? 1 and 12. Done. Make sense? Next, how is this problem different? What do I need to do? Same procedure. I need that a squared term to be a positive 1a squared. Okay? So I'm going to pull out a negative 1, and that's going to give me what polynomial left on the inside? Keep going. Excellent. Do we all understand that? If I were to distribute the negative back in, I would achieve the original problem. But do I need the original problem anymore? I do not need the original problem. So I'm going to knock that off so my brain doesn't see it anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and put this into two binomials. Understanding that the very first step must be to break down the x squared. Yes? So that's going to give me an x and an x. The next step is looking at that last sign. And what type of a number do I need to have? A negative. So if I need a negative outcome, how do I get that? A plus minus. So I'm going to go ahead and put a plus and a minus here. However, looking at the first sign, what does that tell me? When my signs are different, what am I doing? You're subtracting. So I'm going to have two numbers. How do I know what number goes where? The bigger factor is going to go with the middle sign. So my larger factor goes with the plus sign. Do we understand that? Okay, so with that being said, the next thing I need to know is find the factors of 20. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. And what did we say we were going to do? Subtract. So this is 19, 8, and 1. What did I need to achieve? I needed a 1. So that means I have 4 and 5 as my factors that I'll be utilizing in the parentheses. Which number of 4 and 5 is larger? 5. Where does the 5 need to go? With the plus, and the 4 goes with the minus. Do we understand that? Why don't you guys go ahead and start this one? See what you come up with. Okay, the first thing you should do is what? Pull out that negative 1 and make that a w squared minus 7w minus 44. How many people got that first step? Excellent. I do not need this anymore. Next, go ahead and put this into two binomials. I need to get a w squared. How do I do that? W and w, correct? Then I need to get a negative outcome. If I need a negative outcome, what does that say about my signs? They are different. One is positive and one is negative, which means I am doing what operation? I am subtracting. Okay, so I'm going to go up here and I'm going to look at my middle term, which is a minus sign. What does that minus sign tell me? The larger factor goes with the minus. Do we all understand that? Yes? Right now, I need to find my factors of 44. That's 1 and 44, 2 and 22, and 4 and 11. And what am I going to do with those factors? Subtract them. So that's 43, 20, and 7. What do I need to obtain? I need a 7. So I'm utilizing 4 and 11. However, which number is larger out of 4 and 11? And where does the 11 need to go? With the minus sign, and the 4 goes with it. Do we understand that? Yes or no? Okay. How is this problem different? It's a negative 4. Okay, well, let's look at this whole thing. Do I have a GCF? Yeah. What is my GCF? What is it? It is going to be -4. Do we understand that? So since it is -4, I need to pull out a -4. So if I pull out a -4 out of this entire problem, what remains? X squared plus 9x plus 8 is correct. I no longer need the original, but before I cross it off, I should mentally check to make sure that if I distribute it back in, I get the original problem. So from there, I need to go ahead and factor this into two binomials. Step 1, split up x squared. What is that going to give you? X and x. Step 2, look at the last sign. I need a positive outcome. Plus plus or minus minus. How do I know which one? The middle sign is going to be plus plus. Meaning, am I adding or subtracting? You are adding. And then I need to find the factors of 8. 1, 8, 2, and 4. And what am I going to do with those factors? Add, so that gives you a 9 and a 6. Correct? So I need to get a 9. So which one am I going to use? 1 and 8. Do we understand that? Last example. What do I do first? Take out the GCF of a 2. Please do that now. What polynomial remains? X squared minus 9x. Excellent job. Mentally distribute that in your head, and what should you get? The original equation. Am I getting the original equation whenever you mentally distribute that back in? Yes, so I don't need the original problem anymore. So from here, I'm going to break this down into two binomials. How do I split up an x squared? X and x. I need to get a -14. What's it say about my signs? They are different. What does different mean? That you are subtracting. Correct? So I need all the factors. Before I go there, I need a -9x. So where's the bigger number going to go? With the plus or with the minus? With the minus. So factors of 14 are 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. What am I going to do with these numbers? So this gives you a 13 and a 5. What do I want to obtain? A 9. Am I going to get a 9? No. Did I mess up? No. So what does this mean? You cannot factor this any further. Now, once you pull the GCF out, the rest of it is what we call irreducible. The rest of it is called irreducible, meaning it cannot be factored in the way that I am teaching you. It's going to require something else, such as the quadratic formula. Do we understand that? Okay. Now, your homework tonight is going to be this worksheet. Okay, problems 1 through 10, which is the front page, either has a 1x squared or a -1x squared. So it's like the first set of examples I did. Turn it over on the back. On the back, I tell you in the directions to factor out a GCF if needed. We all understand that. So I'm telling you that they have a GCF, and you need to turn that GCF into a 1x squared. Yes? Any questions? As you are doing this worksheet, the answers are already on the board, on the paper right there. Magnetically attached to the board. Yes? Okay. the rest of the time is yours. Any questions? Get busy.